Hours for students in Copley Township. At 10 a.m. Tuesday morning, 84 13 to 18-year-olds will embark on an adventure of a lifetime. It's called Moonbase America. Copley students are making final preparations for their 7-day mission to explore strange new living conditions and to boldly go where no student has ever gone before. Moonbase America is a self-enclosed lunar city. The large center dome is the city's government and communication center. The smaller surrounding pods are for experimentation, where students will use robotic arms and phototrons.
Using these, we can simulate any kind of environment, and we're going to test to see if we can find the best environment for each kind of plant.
There are 4 500-gallon tanks just like this one. Inside, there is a species of fast-growing African fish the students have been raising called tilapia. This is no experiment. This is what they're going to eat.
Actually, we haven't tasted the fish yet, but we've had a lot of hard-working food specialists that have been looking for the very best recipes that will make this all edible and tasty to eat.
The students have prepared for this all year, from getting licensed to use ham radios, to taking scuba lessons to simulate weightlessness.
First we learned about the moon, and we've learned about everything from moon rocks to hydroponics, raising fish, everything that you can imagine that would go involved in such a project.
When you think about school, you think about notebooks and stuff. You don't think about going up into a dome and living for a week, and that's the most interesting part to me, is the actual simulation.
84 students living in close quarters for an entire week could prove the most trying test of them all.
So we brought in psychologists, we worked on stress, claustrophobia, and they have really looked at what it's like to be in a society that's closed in.
And a society that's out of this world. Space won't be the final frontier if Copley teacher Carolyn Stout gets her wish. In the coming years, she hopes to simulate an underwater city, Antarctica, and Mars.
That looks really interesting. Countdown is well underway tonight at Copley High School, where tomorrow 84 students/astronauts will be closing the hatch behind them and begin a week of simulated life on the moon in a lunar base behind their school. 23 Newsday's Joanna Porzak talked with the students as they put the finishing touches on the already nationally recognized project.
The air was filled with activity as students worked to finish up some last-minute wiring and give a bit of atmosphere to what will be their home in simulated space for 168 hours. Minor problems kept them busy. The greenhouse flooded slightly, and ham radio operators had to spend half the night on a radio setup. The tank used for growing lettuce wasn't quite right. Beginning tomorrow, the students will be completely on their own when it comes to solving problems, and that's making for some last-minute jitters.
They've been very calm and cool up till about 2 weeks ago, and then we started to see the transfer occur. So I was nervous up to 2 weeks ago, and now I'm calming down, and they're becoming excited about the project.
Claustrophobia has been a main concern for students going into this project, and when you see the sleeping quarters, you can see why. Here, students will sleep in shifts in bunks, one on top of the other.
They're tight. I'm going to miss my bed and my teddy bear.
Salmons will also serve as TV23's inside reporter, bringing you reports Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Senior Craig Bowman has learned his job well. He's in charge of public relations.
I'm going to have to find the most delicate way to answer this question, but I think initially everybody's going to be really anxious and really excited, and it'll be difficult for them to get some sleep. It'll be hard for them to do their work, but I think as the week progresses, they'll get their work done. And near the end of the week, they'll be really tired of seeing each other, and a lot of them will be really anxious about getting outside and seeing the sunlight.
Will they be ready come tomorrow morning?
I think we have checklists and double checklists and a lot of students very carefully organizing, and I think we'll make it.
Joanna Porzak, 23 Newsday, Moonbase America.
Former Ohio First
Area students, they're shooting for the moon. Today marked the day that more than 80 Copley Farallon High School students entered Moonbase America. Now, this is a project where they'll spend 1 week locked in lunar domes to do space experiments, and it's the first project of its kind in the nation, and it's a way for students to get hands-on training in science, and let's hope that they all get together while they're locked up in the same room for a week.
And on that note, it's a...
We've been telling you about student astronauts at Copley Fairlawn High School getting ready for their simulated lunar mission. Well, today they began their week-long stay inside their lunar station called Moonbase America. Mark Johnson reports.
These 84 students turned astronauts received a hero send-off today from classmates, parents, and government officials in the auditorium of Copley Fairlawn High School as the school officially kicked off its nationally recognized Moonbase America program. Local officials declared it Moonbase America Day in Copley and Fairlawn, and yes, they even wrote a song about it. NASA officials were on hand to wish the students well. Al Worden flew on Apollo 15, was the first American to walk in space.
Our space program is a cycle of evolution of the universe where we are getting ourselves prepared and ready to go out and find another planet to live on, to find another civilization somewhere up the road.
For the next 7 days, students will explore a strange new world inside totally enclosed cubicles and boldly go where no student has gone before. They'll eat, sleep, work, and live together without adult supervision. It's designed to foster understanding and cooperation amongst the astronauts, but naturally, everyone is a bit nervous.
A little bit scared, a little bit anxious to get in there, to see what's going to happen. If we're going to all work together, we're going to be at each other's throats.
If we sink, we have to pull ourselves back out. We have to help each other, and that's the way we have to work.
After the ceremony, the astronauts were whisked away to awaiting shuttles as parents looked on.
He's extremely excited. He hasn't been on Earth for the last week anyway, so he's pretty enthusiastic. All the kids are. They're just a wonderful group of kids.
There was a little extra time to discuss last-minute details, but after months of preparation and planning, the students let us know they were ready. And then it was off to their new home inside Moonbase America. Mark Johnson, 23 Newsday, Copley.
Still flush with success from the Atlanta.
Today, 84 students began a week-long adventure on the moon. It's a moon base at Copley High School. Joe Mossbrook says the project and blast-off involves almost the entire community.
They've been working since last September. Students, parents, and local businesses all chipped in to build the 6,000 square foot simulated moon base behind the high school. In departure ceremonies, they sang the Moonbase America anthem. They also heard former astronaut Al Worden, who went to the moon 20 years ago, say space exploration is important.
We know almost without question that there are many billions of planets in the universe that probably sustain life much as we know it here.
One by one, as their names were announced, the student astronauts marched from the auditorium to the moon base, where each has a specific space job.
I'm a hydroponics crew member.
Which means what?
I help in growing the plants and experimenting with the plants on Moonbase.
Trying to prove that we can sustain life on top of the moon. It would work.
My job is to take care of the fish and make sure the plants are growing properly on top of them. We test the water and we fillet them for the food specialists to prepare for our meals.
From the command center in the school, every move of the Mammoth Educational Project is being monitored electronically. The only outside contact the 84 students will have for the next week will be through this series of computers and TV monitors and telephones. Joe Mossbrook, Channel 3 News, Moonbase America at Copley High School.
Tell us, Ohio, after over a year of preparing and waiting, the big day finally came for the students at Copley High School. Today they entered Moonbase America. The expedition started with a big send-off ceremony. Real-life astronaut Al Worden of Apollo 15 fame gave some last-minute advice. Then it was time for the 13 to 18-year-old astronauts to leave all adult supervision behind. After a last look at the outside world, they entered the space pods. The students will be responsible for everything, including meals, security, and any sickness. Their only outside contact will be with the command center in the Copley Auditorium. The students will occupy the moon base for the next week. The command center is open to the public. All righty, well, it was warm today, 60.
Week long, we've been telling you about Moonbase America. It's a project designed by the students at Copley High School. Yesterday, 84 students climbed into a mock moon base on the school grounds, and they'll be in there for 8 days. Today, our first report from the inside. Student Julie Salmons, using home base video equipment, details day one.
The first major experiment performed on Moonbase America will occur tonight at 12 midnight. It'll be an external moonwalk simulated by junior Carol Steichen and 8th grader Peter Rickey.
The suits were made for us by Cornell University, and the bottom layer consists of a cool suit. The cool suit consists of tubes which water flows through. On the back you can see that the pipes will be leading to our backpacks, which will contain IV bags which will pump the water through our suits and hopefully cool us.
The astronauts plan to operate a lunar rover equipped with an optical telescope used to view the night stars.
We'll be doing several experiments on the external walk, including a radio telescope. With the radio telescope, we'll be setting it up outside, and during the day we'll be able to turn it on and record the radio waves emitted by the sun.
The experiment will be conducted every night throughout the duration of the project. The students hope to gain insight into the movement of the celestial skies. I'm Julie Salmons, 23 News Day, inside Moonbase America.
And Julie will be back with us again tomorrow and Friday for more reports from the inside.
Involved in the Copley Fairlawn High School project Moonbase America have reached the halfway mark in their mission, and so far so good. There have, however, been a few problems, among them claustrophobia. We spoke earlier today with Julie Salmons, one of the astronauts inside the base. Julie, it's day number 3 inside the lunar base there. How is everybody coping with being cooped up in one location?
Well, everybody's doing okay. There's a couple people that are getting a little irritable, but we're handling it the best we can.
How are people dealing with the claustrophobia?
Some people are getting irritable, but then those that are a little more mature are hanging in there, and they're, watching out for each other. They're telling people to straighten up.
Are there any indications that those feelings of anxiousness are getting in the way of the scientific experiments that are being conducted inside?
No, because when people know that they have something to do, they intend to do it, and we've been sticking to our guns with that, and they've been doing a real good job.
Earlier this afternoon, we spoke with you by phone, and you'd mentioned some problem about the fish hatchery there and a meal that the students had hoped to prepare for themselves this evening. Tell us a little bit about that.
One of the fish was contaminated, had a fungus on it, and one of the tanks, tank number 2, rather, was, they didn't know if it was contaminated itself, so they had to empty out the tank with all the other fish. And they probably only have 350 fish to work with, but they're still running tests to see if they can cook a dinner tonight. They were planning on cooking one of the dinners with the fish, and they still don't know if they can do it.
How critical a problem is that to the food supply in there?
It's really not going to create a problem if we don't have the fish, but it'd be nice if they could use it.
Tell us about the robotic arm that is going to be used. Is it tonight or tomorrow?
We're more than sure it's going to be tonight. They went out last night for an external moonwalk, and they'll probably be using the robotic arm tonight.
Realistically, how has the assimilation been going for your mindset, pretending that you are out in space, keeping in mind the airlocks and the vacuum of space? Is everybody pretending reasonably well, or do you still really think on a regular basis that you're back on Earth?
Well, we really can't think on a regular basis that we're back on Earth because of all of our times have changed. I sleep at the busiest time of day, and that's how it is on Earth, so to speak. And also there's the skylights that we can see outside, and we can see the daylight and the night sky, and it doesn't really help to set a scene of being on the moon.
All right, Julie. Well, thanks very much for your time. We hope that you fare well inside there, and we'll check up with you again tomorrow.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Bye.
Check on the progress of Moonbase America out at Copley Fairlawn High School, where it's been going on all week, where students have staged a lunar base simulation for the week. We spoke earlier this afternoon with one of the astronauts on board, Julie Salmons. Julie, this is probably a rather indelicate subject here during the dinner hour, but nevertheless, I think it needs to be addressed. There was a problem with the lavatory facilities at Moonbase America. Can you tell us what went on with that, and has the problem been corrected?
When I woke up this morning, there was a problem with the toilets, and yesterday afternoon the boys' dormitories were clogged up, and unfortunately this morning, same happened with the girls, and I had to deal with that this morning since I am a part of the security, maintenance, transportation. And it wasn't a pretty sight, but we got it under control and everything's all right now.
What about some of the experiments that are being conducted today, Julie?
The research people are, well, when they went out last night at 12 o'clock, they brought in some moon rocks, and they have been performing experiments on those. They ground it into dust, and then they have been checking for pH balance and different minerals and such.
What are some of the things that the crew is going to accomplish over the weekend?
Hopefully they're going to learn a lot more about working together as a team, which we've been discovering over the days, and then they're going to be doing some experiments with the fish, and the fish are going to be cooked in a couple of days here.
All right, so everything is progressing well so far.
Oh, yeah.
Julie Salmons at Moonbase America, thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Story was going to work out. Would 84 high school students crammed into one room for a whole week kill one another, or could they work harmoniously in the interest of science? Channel 3's Tony Harris has the answer now, as Moonbase America crew was welcomed back to Mother Earth today.
After 7 days, 168 hours in a simulated city with 84 other high schoolers on a simulated landmass called the Moon, the experiment in education was mercifully over. But before the all-out assault on the closest fast food haunt, there would be a thorough debriefing for astronauts and crew in the gym. Then some well-deserved acknowledgement from family, friends, faculty, and the Moonbase America singers.
Moonbase America, discover you, discover me.
Even Senator Glenn was impressed with the effort put forth in this unique learning environment.
It's one of the most remarkable high school education projects I ever seen anywhere in this country, anywhere in Ohio.
But was the experience so remarkable for the young people who lived it? Their top 5 Moonbase America sayings offers some indication. Number 5. What did they eat to clog the toilet anyway? Clee, what did you break this time? Where are my shoes? Egads, my computer is frozen. And the most oft-expressed Moonbase sentiment? I really need a beer. Some were more reflective about the experience.
I guess I learned that I could be more responsible than I thought I could.
To tell you the truth, no one thought we would really make it, that everyone would get into a fight every 5 minutes. But that never happened.
There were difficult moments to be sure, but everyone we talked to wouldn't have missed those first steps on the moon for anything in the world. Tony Harris, Channel 3 News.
Like a moonwalking acronym.
I don't know about those questions. I need a beer.
Well, I'm not going to touch that. What?
Now, the mission is over for student astronauts in the Moonbase America project out at Copley High School. They emerged today from their lunar base after a week of simulated space life. Newsday's Lita Jensen reports on their return to planet Earth.
Moonbase America landed without incident today in Copley. After 7 days and 6 nights on board the enclosed structure, the 84 student astronauts were welcomed home by family, fellow classmates, and local and state leaders.
We've done what nobody else has even attempted. We've survived flood watches, clogged toilets, compost piles, fish pizzas. We've lived through laundry piles and crowded dorms. How did we survive all of these dilemmas and trials? Simple. We did it with teamwork. With the help of the students working in the command center and the countless number of people that helped this project evolve, we did accomplish our goal.
Among the guest speakers at the project's closing ceremony, former astronaut John Glenn. Glenn commended the students on their efforts and dared them to think about the unknown.
The main thing that's occurred is your curiosity has been stimulated, or you wouldn't have taken part in this. And curiosity is at the heart of every single bit of advance that's gone through the whole history of this world.
The astronauts divided their days in Moonbase into 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, and 8 hours of recreation.
It taught a lot, like to get along with people better, and it helped work out problems, and a lot of scientific aspects too.
I'm very proud of her. I'm really happy that she had this experience. We missed her a lot.
Moonbase America is the culmination of 2 years of planning and a lot of hard work by students, teachers, and the community.
This is the way education should be, hands-on. The students can experience firsthand what they have to do in their jobs in the future.
The students are being debriefed by NASA officials and will then write reports from their out-of-this-world experiences. Lita Jensen, 23 Newsday, Copley.
45 and 49. This program was brought to you in part by you. If you are a member of channels 45 and 49, thank you.
The first thing I'm always going to think of is that structure up there because it's really incredible.
We all had a purpose there. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. We could all work together.
We had actually sat outside of this and thought up our own society.
It's pretty likely in 20 years we'll have people living on the moon. They'll have to grow their own food. They'll understand the effects of low gravity, and they'll know what it means to live with too many people for weeks at a time. The people who will live on the moon are probably in school right now. I like to think I went to school with some of them. Heck, I like to think that I might be one of them. I'm Craig Bowman. During my senior year of high school, my teachers encouraged us to pursue that dream. We built our own moon colony. We called it Moonbase America. '96 of us prepared a year for Moonbase. We had a special class for 2 semesters that took a lot of time after school. If there's one thing I learned most from this class, it's that science plays a big part in everything we do. I worked with people whose jobs are in scientific fields. Many of them came with equipment their companies donated. Others just volunteered their time at the project. You know, Moonbase took on a life of its own.
We didn't go out and solicit help. People came to us. We had people driving by and say, what a neat experience. Can we help in some way? I had people from as far away as, about 30 miles that would drive in here of an evening with their kids, and they saw what a neat project it was and decided they wanted to help too. So they buckled down and brought the whole family and participated, helped us erect the domes.
The domes were our homes for 7 days. We spent a lot of nights after school putting them together. When we were done, we were pretty impressed. Judging by the turnout, so was the community. 5,000 people showed up for a tour the night before the mission began.
It's neat to think that, high school kids put this together. They were professionals helping us, but they weren't hired to come in and do that job for us. We were up there, I was up there on that ladder doing, caulking and painting and hammering, and so we made that structure.
This was a real unique situation where we had the opportunity to come up with an intriguing structure, something that would be different.
Goals that we have a lot of times are written goals, and this was a visual goal.
There was a group of 11 of us, I think, that had given all of our free time to building the domes. We'd lift the pieces up and everything, it was a bolt together kind of thing.
Well, the kids did a phenomenal amount of work. The kids and myself really put together the majority of the system, along with some help from parents, and a lot of community members assisted too.
You need a very willing and excitable community, and I think that is Copley.
It brought together students, teachers, community people, as well as corporate executives helping us fund it, as well as with much of the technical advice that needed to be done to complete the project.
Companies from all over backed us up. They donated our computer network, our telephone system, our scientific testing instruments, and a robot arm. Grants covered the materials for the 9 domes. This is the main dome. All the crew meetings took place here. The medical crew and our research specialists had their lab here, and since this was a co-ed project, 2 separate sleeping areas. These 3 domes house the kitchen area, the recreation area, and the air and water control. While in these 3 domes, we had a lunar mining facility for food, fish tanks, and a hydroponics greenhouse. One team specialized in growing food. Moonbase was meant to be self-sustaining. We grew vegetables in artificial sunlight, and we also raised fish.
Well, they were African fish that they were supposed to grow very fast. We're using the tilapia and the hydroponics as they really made up the self-contained part of Moonbase. If you're on the moon, you couldn't go to the grocery market down the street and get it, and we were in charge of growing the food for the people.
We wanted them to successfully be able to take these fingerling fish and to grow them and to have a self-sustained ecosystem in those fish tanks. And we wanted to obviously to be able to produce food at the end. We fortunately were able to produce the food. It was smaller than obviously we wanted it to be, but those are things that happen in scientific experiments.
Only 2 days into Moonbase, at 2 o'clock in the morning, we had our first serious problem. A fungus was threatening our food supply.
Well, we had a few troubles with them. In the Moonbase, we noticed that a fish was swimming weirdly, and we took it out and noticed there was a fungus growing on it. So we had to contaminate that tank, but otherwise, it went pretty smoothly. With teamwork, we figured it out what type of fungus it was and how to treat it, but we ended up contaminating the whole tank and separating it from the rest of the fish.
The fish hatchery crew saved the fish supply. The other homegrown products grew in the dome next door. All the food came together 3 times a day for 3 different shifts.
Initially, we thought that if we had all the equipment necessary, we could really raise all the vegetables that were needed inside. If you don't have plants that are under the right conditions from the beginning, you can't bear fruit, on a certain time period. We were able to produce peas and beans and cucumbers and some tomatoes. So we tried to supplement the diet. Our role kind of changed from being the primary food source to a supplemental food source inside of the pods.
Food was good. Food kids had a lot to do. The rec kids didn't have much to do. Food kids were always busy. Every time I turned on the TV, somebody had a big sharp knife and was chopping something up. The biggest challenge, washing the dishes. That was a challenge because there were a lot of people eating and we had to keep washing dishes to make sure we had enough for everybody. But it was also hard getting a schedule because we had to have everything cooked on time because it had to be hot for them to eat. They had a lot of cleaning to do, they had a lot of planning to do, and I think that was probably the hardest thing, was planning everything. To cook for 84 people, we had to learn to cook in large quantities. The biggest mistake that we made was not being careful enough, really. There was one time when we burned the rice because we forgot to turn it down. And there was one time when the brownies burned a little bit too long, and there were times when things were left frozen longer than they should have, so it took them longer to cook. We just weren't quite as careful as we should have been. It's not to say that we weren't cautious and that we weren't watching what we were doing, but it was easy to make mistakes. They found out that they didn't like peeling potatoes, that they didn't like doing dishes, that it was a very monotonous job, and that people weren't very grateful for all the hard work that they did. I remember reading one of the sets of log sheets, and it said that when you left your shift, you always left a mess for the next shift. It was like they turned it sort of into a ritual where you messed it up, and then when you came in, you knew you had a mess to deal with, and then you had your food to get ready. And then when you left, you just sort of left everything for the next shift. So they kind of made it into a fun thing.
During the entire week of the Moonbase mission, not one student had a serious health problem. But it didn't stop our medical crew from preparing for the worst.
Well, we had to expect the worst. I was really nervous going in there, thinking, well, what if somebody has a heart attack and I can't care for them? It's my fault.
Have you taken any medication since your last trip?
They were really well prepared. They did a lot of different things. They got their first aid certificates. They had talked about claustrophobia, about depression. They had made sure that they knew what special circumstances different people had, like allergies, and some other people who were on some special medications, and they had records of all that.
I've always planned on going into medicine. There really hasn't been anything else that I would rather be than a doctor. So being a medical officer, I guess it gives me a jump start on working with people and knowing CPR and first aid, which are basic medical techniques.
It wasn't just that if somebody got cut or fell down or something like that, but they also they were also the watch guard to see that everybody was, getting enough sleep, and they were relaxed, and, they weren't irritating each other. So they were the ones that were supposed to kind of sit back and kind of watch what was happening, the interactions too.
We got to explore physical aspects of exercise and general physical medicine, no chemical medicine. When we went in, I was really scared that I was going to do something wrong, but I guess we handled ourselves okay.
While we were tackling the day-to-day challenges and doing our research missions, we still had to keep up with our earthbound class assignments. We had education specialists in the Moonbase who helped.
Okay, what are you guys working on?
We're working on
Through our computer and telephone networks, as well as the all-important facts, we managed to stay up to date. Well, pretty much up to date.
They were working with incubating agar strips. They were trained to do this during the first half of Moonbase in the classroom. But they had to learn to read those and to interpret those and to regulate the incubators, to take the air samples to make certain that no bacteria were growing that were foreign, to the inside of our colony, and also to take care if actually the bacteria started to grow, to take care and to minimize the growth of the bacteria. They also did water tests on the fish tanks to make certain that things were good there, and maintained as sterile as environment as we could, as it went with the water and the air anyhow.
During training, we simulated the moon's gravity by learning scuba. Once we got used to the hostile environment, we tackled the difficulties of handling tools. When Peter, Ricky, and Carol Steichen simulated a moonwalk, they didn't have to worry about a lack of air being struck by meteorites. But the research crew did have a share of problems to overcome.
The design of the outfits were made so that equipment could be placed on the outfits themselves. We allowed the students to help in the design and also the sewing of the external walk uniform, so we were able to use other students outside of research. We learned from the last project to this project that the external walk, even though it was a large portion of the project because of the experimental value, it wasn't workable. It wasn't workable because the students themselves couldn't function inside the suits. So we had talked locally to universities, and they suggested we talk with Cornell. And because of a local company here, BF Goodrich Aerospace, they sent students to Cornell and Cornell students down to us. And the project changed the whole research aspect of the external walk.
Peter, let's do a radio check. Rich, you still there? KB, KGC.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Check. Oh, it looks like it's pouring out there, right?
It never rains on the moon, but it rained all during that week.
Right. You can do that experiment last, and we'll get your battery.
We were measuring the speed of light. We used a Loran C from a local company and gridded the land around the Moonbase structure.
Hello, Peter from Command Center.
We also had two types of telescopes, a radio telescope that we used, and we always set up problems for the students, and we exchanged antenna just before so that they were working with 1/3 the size, so they had to make adjustments on that, and it was frustrating for them, very similar to what you would see in a real situation.
The contents in the roller has to... Okay. I didn't copy.
An important part of the moonwalk was relaying findings and problems back to the main dome and the command center. First it rained, then the radios quit.
Take this off and put it there. You gotta pull out these. Never mind. Give me a flat screwdriver. There's a pin inside that just goes right in. I'll make it longer, yeah. Fun yet?
Everyone came to expect the unexpected. The day-to-day problems challenged us, but in a way they held us together. When the rain forced us to cancel a few moonwalks, it found its way into Moonbase. The security and maintenance crew worked round the clock for the first 3 days tackling rain-related problems.
Well, during the week it leaked a little bit.
We had rain, and lots of rain. Rain 24 hours a day, nearly the whole time. And unfortunately, we had a few roof leaks, and the kids had to take care of this problem.
You know, we caulked them, but it was going to happen with wood on wood put together. It's just going to leak. The water was coming through the wood, really.
The neat thing about this group in maintenance, they met every problem head on and solved every one of them on their own with the forethought of bringing tools in and being able to maintain everything. It was really a neat experience.
You know, I had given it my best, and if something didn't go right, you know, I knew it was my fault, and I had a better idea how to fix it because I put it together to begin with.
Maintenance did a great job keeping the structure together. They also watched over our moon rock, a real moon rock. NASA let us borrow it, but only under special conditions. We needed a safe, but the security and maintenance crew provided the guard.
Everything is disarmed. You can take it from here.
Since we only had enough beds for 1/3 of the crew, we had to sleep in shifts. Here's where we had to understand more than just lunar geology and geography. We had to handle a colony of our own design. This small collection of people formed something much bigger.
But it was really fascinating to see the Moonbase culture develop, because it was unlike any culture I had ever seen before. We had actually sat outside of this and thought up our own society to meet certain criteria. That very rarely actually happens.
They, as students, can decide what in the future their society will be. It's not easy for a student to spend 7 days with 95 other students and keep order, create a government, debate over different issues, look at when they have to be at a certain location and be there without adults inside. And that happened. And I think they're going to carry that discipline and that responsibility with them.
Lots of conflict. That's one thing that was a major factor in our society, as in any society. In government, I know there was one person who tended to dominate.
I think establishing ourselves is a big thing, simply because we didn't know really where our governmental power, if you can say, came from. We were more chosen. We weren't picked by a mandate from the masses. We were just told that we're the government. So we had to go in there and make everybody believe in us. We tried to unite everybody, the groups, into bigger groups, so they could work together. And then we drafted a constitution, and the government officers kind of clashed with the command controllers on that. And so jointly, we wrote one, and then we ended up joining command controllers and government officers into one large body.
Well, we need to work together, but we need to watch each other's feelings as well. We can't just push those off aside just because we didn't get sleep, because that's not their fault that we didn't get sleep. It's your own fault. So you got to learn not to be as touchy and be calm and still polite to them, because they're a part of the project as well.
I think too many times they went undiscussed and untreated. But I remember one time, to resolve a conflict between the research department and one of its specialists, we had a government moderator come in, and we both presented our sides to him in an organized, informal argument, and then he decided on the outcome, which I think was one of our most successful ones, because he was unrelated to the specialist area. You could make an objective decision there.
I think everybody got along really well. There were a few disputes, little arguments, but nothing that couldn't be settled just by talking things out. That's what I learned most, just seeing that maybe people can get along.
The research specialists were also in charge of the mining dome.
We controlled it remotely inside the main dome at the research station, the remote control console to which it was wired. And this console also had 2 television sets mounted into it, from which we could see the robot's movements.
We had a pod inside specifically for mining, and we had seeded it with anorthosite rocks that contained titanium, and the students were to take that, pulverize it, and use it in a flotation mining device.
After we had removed the rocks from the dome, we took them to our station and performed flotation mining on them. Flotation mining is basically the process which can be used to analyze the mineral's content.
Most of Moonbase was concentrated within the walls of our 9 domes, but 17 other schools throughout the United States also took part. Some of our research specialists communicated with other sites by telephone. They kept in touch with us through our daily satellite teleconference.
Hi, this is Craig Bowman. Welcome back to Moonbase America here at Copley, Ohio. We're into day 3 of the simulation here in Ohio, and things have been really eventful.
Behind me you can see the main amateur radio station of Moonbase America, which has 4 forms of communications. We have satellite communications, amateur television, and many various radios with which you can communicate all around the world with.
And by the end of the week, we'll see if there is a major difference of the fish living in light or dark environments.
In waste management, what we do is we decompose all the organic materials that are left over from the kitchen. Over here, we have a worm farm which contains 1,500 worms, which are mixed in with mulched leaves and peat. And what they're used for is to decompose coffee grounds, light stuff like ground up orange rinds and apple cores.
With us now inside the main dome are my twin brother, Andy Bowman, Kevin O'Brien, and Brian Spurlock.
To talk to you about the domes, we had several options for Moonbase, and we chose the geodesic dome mostly because it looks cool, but really because of the thermodynamics and the heat inside, that it was more efficient as far as air transfer and stuff.
Has there been any problems with leakage inside Moonbase?
The girls' dorm had a problem, a couple of seams that, not at the very top, but as the triangles are bolted together towards the bottom, the rainwater, as it drains down the seams, tends to work its way in as it gets closer to the bottom.
Moonbase is a lot more to go here, and I'd like to thank you all for tuning in on us. Seeing a clip now of the opening ceremony of a song that was a theme song written by one of the teachers from Moonbase. Thank you from Moonbase America. I'm Craig Bowman.
It just blossomed, and everyone became important, and everyone had a role, and everyone became excited about the possibilities.
Well, I've finally really found a field that I'm really interested in. I mean, before Moonbase, I was kind of wondering what I'm going to do with my life.
They saw it firsthand.
Every day was something different and exciting and unique.
It gave me a broader background on science. They saw all the problems, they saw all the pluses.
Because the project varied from 8th grade to 12th grade, and I believe all those grades got together and were actually able to work together.
I think if people have an opportunity to see, Mom and Dad are there for a reason, and I'm not capable of doing everything by myself. I need people to help me too, and that's a limitation that everyone should be aware of.
And they also formed their own society, and they were working together to achieve their goals. It's important to show hands-on science in a real situation. That's Moonbase.
What's next? Well, the facility will continue its mission, making science and the world more understandable. Then there's its future impact on every participant. Many of us, like myself, didn't know what we wanted to do after high school, but the Moonbase experience showed us how our school subjects fit together. It also introduced us to professionals from every field, including science. I guess that's why I'm in college now, studying engineering. But there's still so much beyond college. In 20 years, I hope you'll be visiting me at my new home, just 250,000 miles away.
This program was brought to you in part by you. If you are a member of Channels 45 and 49, thank you.
The ritual